Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro denounced the plans of the extreme right wing to privatize state-owned companies and other strategic sectors of national life. The Russian government said it will assess the damage caused to its economy by Western sanctions and will demand compensation at some point. The Ukrainian government, within the framework of the new conscription law, approved and may incorporate into its ranks some 2,750 common prisoners. Hello, welcome to From the House. I am Irma Shelton from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Venezuela President Nicolás Maduro denounced the plans of the extreme right wing to privatize state-owned companies and other strategic sectors of the national life. The claim was made during a meeting with the workers of a Guayana steel factory in the Bolivar state, where he said there were two models of government in the country: the socialist model and the model of the big names, which intend to privatize all the companies in the nation, as well as the services and the people's rights to education and health. Maduro warned that the opposition would like to privatize companies such as PDVSA, the steel company Sidor, and the electric energy corporation Corpoelec, among others.
I can tell you something. There are two models. The model of the big names, of the oligarchy, who want to take over, not only to privatize Guyana. Their plans include privatizing PDVSA, privatizing all the Corpoelec, and what is worse, privatizing public education, as they have said.
The Peruvian state defended on Monday before the Inter-American Court of Human Rights a controversial bill that specifies the application and scope of the crime against humanity and war crimes in the Andean nation's legislation. During a public hearing to request provisional measures in the Barrios Altos and La Cantuta cases considered massacres against the civilian population, the representative of the Peruvian state dismissed the accusations. The aid agent Cesar Pastor Briceño pointed out that in the records of convictions for Barrios Altos and La Cantuta, it can be verified that none was treated as crimes against humanity or war crimes, but for common criminal offenses, aggravated homicide, kidnapping, and injuries. The proposal is to promote by Fujimorism. The Argentine judiciary, in agreement with the government, is holding 16 demonstrators arbitrarily accused of terrorism. In a press conference and accompanied by the human rights organizations and leaders, their comrades called to mobilize in front of the Casa Rosada to demand their release. The relative of those imprisoned for demonstrating against the basis law called for a concentration this Thursday at 4:30 p.m. in Plaza de Mayo to demand the release of all the detainees. They demand the justice systems to carry out a process that respects democratic and constitutional guarantees. And among the prisoners, there are 5 students and members of the social movements. On the other hand, the bloc of deputies of Union for La Patria will represent on Tuesday the complaint filed before the federal justice for the agressions suffered by several deputies during the violent police operation deployed last Wednesday during the session in which the omnibus law was discussed. The deputies will hold a press conference from 3:30 p.m. local time, in which they will also demand the urgent release of the demonstrators who are still detained during the subsequent manhunt in the vicinity of the Congress. Meanwhile, studies reveal that the economic situation of citizens worsened by over 50% under the government of Javier Milei. The poll by the consulting firm Suban Cordoba indicates that the majority of Argentinians warn that the administration of Javier Milei is collapsing the state along with its adjustment policies. In relation to this, over 63% of Argentinians confess that they must work more to obtain the same living standard as in 2023, while 54.9% resort to their savings to make ends meet. In that context, 80% of the regional economies are in crisis due to the deregulation and low demand in the sectors. A rise in inputs above inflation, drops in production, and a significant fall in demand have caused 15 out of 19 productions to be on alert, according to a report presented by the Argentinian Confederation of Medium-Sized Companies. During the first 4 months of this year, the links in the various value chains were affected in their profitability by cost increases, including transport and basic service. Now let's take a short break, but remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome to From the South. In Palestine, the United Nations World Food Program warned of the possibility that southern Gaza will soon reach the same catastrophic levels of hunger that were previously seen in the north. WFP Deputy Executive Director Carl Scott, after a 2-day visit to Gaza, said that the persistence of a hostile operation environment make it almost impossible for humanitarian operations to deliver desperately needed food aid. He also informed that the situation in the south of Gaza was quickly deteriorating and that in order to get to the people, they drove through rivers and wastewater. The WFP official said that other than providing humanitarian help, they need to start spreading hope by supporting the water cleaning and the basic health care needs. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East, UNRWA, denounced on Monday that 193 of its workers have been killed in Gaza, where attacks by Israeli forces continue. The agency has assured that this number of murdered officials since October 23 is the highest on record. Through its X account, UNRWA has classified Gaza as one of the most dangerous places in the world for humanitarian workers. However, the agency highlights the commitment of its members who continue to work to support families and provide aid aimed to dire humanitarian crisis. In Iran, the first electoral debate between the six presidential candidates begins its 14 sessions on Monday, where they will present their plans on the pillars of development and economic reactivation. The candidates answer questions from several experts who were concerned about economic issues and the solutions to inflation and measures to increase cosmetic production. Earlier, the Ministry of Interior reported that the Guardian Council of Iran had approved the eligibility of the six candidates to run in the presidential elections to be held on June 28, where the 9 presidents of the Islamic Republic of Iran will be elected, succeeding the late President Ibrahim Raisi, who died recently in a helicopter crash. The United Nations reports that more than 800 migrants have come missing or died in the Mediterranean Sea of 2024. The entity points out that the cipher represents an average of 5 people dead or missing per day since the beginning of this year. Agencies of the UN informed this Monday that ascendant of the toll after their report of 64 missing people after the shipwreck in their boat in which they were traveling near the coast of Calabria in southern Italy. Among the agencies that spoke out were the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, the International Organization for Migration, and the United Nations Children's Funds, which expressed their deep sorrow for the dozens of victims of 2 new accidents in the Mediterranean. The Russian government said it will assess the damage caused to its economy by Western sanctions and will demand compensation at some point. The statement was made by the Vice President of the Russian Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, who also denounced the West's out-of-bounds war against Moscow and the United States sanctions on more than 4,000 Russian individuals and companies since February 2022. Medvedev also denounced similar actions by the European Union, the United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, and other countries. The Russian official urged other nations affected by Western economic restriction to follow suit and begin to systematize and assess the damage suffered. The United States government announced in Switzerland a new $1.5 billion aid package for Ukraine. The package includes the provision of $500 million for energy assistance and $324 million allegedly to encourage private sector's investment. On the other hand, Washington said that some $300 million will be allocated to support civilian security. The announcements were made despite recent warnings by U.S. officials that Kiev has one of the highest rates of corruption and the government's use of these funds is unknown. On the other hand, the Ukrainian government, within the framework of the new conscription law approved in May, incorporated into its ranks some 2,750 common prisoners in order to recruit more than 300,000 new soldiers to cope with the advancing Russian army. Ukrainian authorities lowered the recruitment age from 27 to 25 and allow prisoners to join the army's ranks. The enlisted inmates are responsible for crimes such as drug trafficking, armed robbery, and murder, and will be enlisted to serve in the assault troops, carrying out attacks, sabotage, and infiltration operations at the front. Experts assure that these actions will not change the real situation on the battlefield, but will serve the Kiev government to request more Western support. And we have a final short break coming up. But before, we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. It's final short break. Don't go away. Welcome to From the South. Salvadoran authorities report on Monday that 11 people have died following the rains and floods affecting the country, 6 more people than the previous report. The last report on death provided by the National Civil Police states that at least 3 people died buried by a landslide that fell in the neighborhood of El Centro in Tacuba, Huacachapan. Meanwhile, 2 men died when a tree fell on the motorcycle they were riding on Las Chinamas Highway in Aguachapan. The authorities also said that the several incidents were attended more than 200 fallen trees, 42 landslides, over 145 obstructed roads, 6 damaged walls, 4 vehicles directly affected, 6 urban floods, and 51 floods houses. In Mexico, during the last few days, the city of Chetumal, capital of the state of Quintana Roo, has suffered the consequence of the floods caused by the intense rains that have hit several parts of the North American country. The water level went over the 1-meter-high mark, causing residents to be trapped in shopping centers and vehicles, in addition to significant damage of several areas in the city. Mexican authorities indicate that they are working to face the emergency and to provide support to the victims. Over 200 Colombian families were affected in the Department of Atlántico by the collapse of a house caused by the heavy rains in the region. In this regard, the authorities are on high alert due to the forecast of the Institute of Hydrology, Meteorology, and Environmental Studies, where they warn that the rainfall will increase with force in the middle of the winter season of 2024. Likewise, the municipality of Soledad declared a public calamity due to the emergency register after the overflowing of the Platanal Creek, which forced the provisional closure of 3 bridges. The effects of climate change have had a strong impact in Latin American countries, with deaths, landslide, and material damage caused by heavy rains in recent weeks. In Ecuador, It was reported that at least 10 citizens died and several were injured in a landslide in the region of Baños de Agua Santa, south of the city of Quito. The National Secretariat of Risk Management reported that the rescue efforts are still underway and warned that the death toll could increase. While in province of Narona, several rivers overflowed in regions such as La Palora or Yacachi and El Tigre, affecting other areas of central Ecuador. And the National Ballet of Cuba is about to celebrate 10 years of collaboration with the British Friends Group. The celebration will be carried out by the island's most important classical dance company with 6 performances in the National Theater of Havana from July 5 to 14 under the direction of Vincent Valdez, Cuban dancer and General Director of the National Ballet of Cuba. On this occasion, they will perform Celeste by Annabel Lopez Ochoa and also premiere of Lucille, created by the Danish choreographer Johan Kaber, who is well known to Cuban audience for his performances in the Havana International Ballet Festival of 1998 and 2004. And we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories in our website at telesurenglish.net. And join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I am Irma Shelton. Thank you for watching.